Hello everyone, welcome to the last episode of Music of the Week before the year's out, and yeah, I got about 6 albums to do for this one. Thanks to everyone who watched the last episode, because that's the only other video I've done this week, so yeah, got 6 albums for this. We may as well just move on with it. We're starting off with something I rarely do. I think this might be a first, actually. Converge and Chelsea Wolfe with their album Blood Moon. What now? Converge is one of my favourite American bands ever. Chelsea Wolfe, passingly familiar with. I know she's like a gothic sort of like singer, and she has a very unique style of her own. And this is Converge's 10th album. I think it's Chelsea's technically 7th or 8th, even though it's not classified in her discography, even though it should be because she's worked on the album and sings quite a lot. But the point is, the album is really great. I'm giving it a B+. Really liked a lot of it. It worked a lot more than it should have, I think. And for those who were wondering why I didn't go over, when Converge first formed or anything, I think people know enough about Converge by now. And, Chelsea is based out of California, I believe, so, there you go, quick history lesson. But, yeah, the album's really great. The styles mesh together quite well. Love the production. Kurt Ballou, who was Converge's guitarist, does an amazing job as a producer in God City Studios. Still one of the best studio names ever, like God City. That's just fucking cool. But yeah, this album has a lot of style going for it. It's not lacking substance either. Really, really great lyrical content. Love the production. Love how paced out it is. It is a bit of a long affair because it is just a couple of minutes short of a full hour, but it's still great. It's still worth a listen in my opinion, and the styles mix a lot better than you think they would. Obviously, the album is not perfect, and it is a sad thing when even a Converge album isn't going to make my top 30 list, but I still recommend seeking out and listening to it for yourself, because it has to be heard to be believed. So if you just want something that you don't think would work but does, this album might fill that gap. Also, I did forget to mention about the Converge album. Yes, that did come out in November, but I was pushing it back to this month, to last Friday stuff, because, I don't know, I wanted to add to it. But moving on now from Massachusetts, which is where Converge are from, to Melbourne, Australia. Specifically Victoria? Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Yeah, mostly right. For Civic with their debut album Future Forecast. Yeah, it's a debut. I don't really know a lot about these guys, but they're an Australian band. I like bands from Australia, and for the most part, really like this album. I'm giving it a B. Spoilers, by the way, all the albums within this episode are B-centric in a way. Nothing goes high, nothing goes low. But, yeah, this is a pretty good punk, like sort of an older style punk. However, I am docking a little bit of a point from it, because I did see some comments that were like, it's good to have like an older style of punk that isn't meshed with like this modern day emo indie whiny bullshit, and I'm like, I like that emo indie whiny bullshit. What's wrong with it, Yeah, brave faces everyone from 2020 would like to say hello to you, sir, or madam, or other, depending on how you classify. But this album is still really good despite that sort of attitude behind it. It does have that classic punk sound. Really good instrumental work, really good pacing. It is a bit on the short side, which I think is also another reason why I'm docking points, but it's still good, and for a debut I do have a lot of hope for whatever Civic drop next. Maybe, a bit more cohesion. Maybe they'll be able to sort of adapt, or adopt, or whichever word it is, the sort of more emo, indie, whiny bullshit style, which I do enjoy. So, who knows? But I do recommend giving this one a shot, and even though Australian bands have not hit as hard this year, this is still a really good example for you to go over, I think. Next we go to Seattle, Washington. Yeah, we're back in America, for Eris and their 4th album, Distant Fires, and it's their first album in about 5 years. So, these are a group that have been around for about 15 years. I'm not too familiar with them. This is my first album by them, and it's sort of a post-metal, sludge metal affair from what I know about them. And I've heard a fair chunk of this style this year, and I'm gonna give it the same grade I would give most of those other albums. It gets a B-. It really relies quite nicely on the dissonance of its style, and I do like a good post-genre, as I've said many times throughout this series, if you want to call it that. And it's honestly quite good for the most part. It does lack in some lyrics that I could find, so I couldn't really find much of a message to relate to, and again, it doesn't do too much to deviate from the typical sludgy, posty, metal-y stuff, but it's got really good guitar work. The performances are genuine, they are believable enough for me to like them, and it's got really good chops for the most part. I don't know, maybe it needed a bit of maybe it needed better production, but that still works alright. You know, the album doesn't overstay its welcome, even though it is 8 songs stretched to quite a lot of time. But it tries, you know, it does fill the gap quite well. I'd still recommend giving it a shot though, if you're into this style. I'm sort of like always teetering on the edge of it, but this is probably one of the good examples of this year. So yeah, give it a go. Next we go to the only Canadian band on the list, Like Pacific, with their third album, Control My Sanity. I've been sort of familiar with these guys. They're from Toronto, Ontario, by the way. I've been sort of familiar with these guys for a wee while. I heard their last album. Let's see if I can bring it up, In Spite of Me, and I really liked In Spite of Me. I thought that was a pretty good album. Also, I really enjoyed this one, giving it a B+. Really solid work of pop punk from them. A bit more mature, a bit shorter than I would like. It clocks in at just under half an hour, and I wanted a little bit more of it by the end, but it's still just 10 solid songs of pop punk energy goodness, you know, really heartfelt lyrics, really nice instrumental work for the most part, really good production, really good performances, just what the band is good at, you know, and from Canada as well, which is probably my second favourite place to go to for music besides Australia. Australia's first, by the way. It's really good, you know, it's just really solidly put together pop punk, and these are a band that are capitalising on what they have. They need to keep doing it if they want to elevate themselves that bit more, but they have been smashing it absolutely. The only album of theirs I haven't heard is their debut one, and I'm looking forward to giving that a spin at some point. But yeah, you know, their last album was really good, this album's really good, and I have a feeling they're going to have a really solid career if they keep going like this. And I really hope they do, because they're only just over a decade into their career, so they've got time. Next is not necessarily a band from a specific place, it's more of a project, and this is another one I meant to cover in November but pushed back to last Friday. Scion with their debut self-titled album. Now, Scion is a project consisting of Howard Jones, better known for his work with Killswitch Engage and Light the Torch, and Jared Dines, who is best known for his work on YouTube, as well as bands like Rest Repose and Daddy Rock. That is an actual band that exists. And yeah, this is a project that, it's a passion project of theirs that they've both been wanting to do for a while, and really good. Honestly, really good album, giving it a B+. Really enjoyed a lot of the chops on display. I would give it an A. I would elevate it to like A-ish tier, but my main problem is it really just feels like it's just a Jared and Howard album, you know, and it's nothing new I've heard from Howard related stuff, and it's nothing new there's nothing I haven't heard from him, there's nothing I haven't heard from Jared, to be honest. But the two mesh together so well. Like, Jared's guitar work is absolutely astonishing, and he will never get enough credit for how good of a guitarist he is. And Howard Jones is an amazing vocalist. I think everyone is just aware of that fact, because it's fucking true. The dude can go. And yeah, the album was produced really well, and you can tell that they put in a lot of like sweat and blood and a lot of their own money. This album took a lot out of their pocket, and hopefully they are recompensated for it at some point. And you could feel the passion behind the project, and it works. It's really, really good. But it feels like a lot of the other instrumentals take a backseat. Like, a lot of the drum beats feel fairly generic for metal, metalcore, heavy metal stuff. A lot of the bass work feels barely there, but I can only assume Jared did those too. But the main focus is the guitar and vocal work, and if you go there expecting what you came for, you're going to get it in spades. So if you're going to listen to this album for anything, and there is pretty good lyrics as well, honestly. If you're going to listen to the album for anything, though, listen to it just for Jared and Howard. Don't listen to it for anything else, and you won't be disappointed. And it's not a disappointing album, obviously. B+ is really great, and it's a great album. Obviously not going to be in my top 30, but I still say give it a spin. Copenhagen is a fun word to say. It's also where we're going for the last album of this episode, Volbeat, with their 8th album, Servant of the Mind. Now, I'm not super familiar with them. I know I have a friend who really loves Volbeat, and I reviewed their last album, Rewind, Replay, Rebound. I think that's what it's called, is it? Yes, it is. Haha, I got it all right. And I didn't like that one that much. I do like this album a little bit more. I'm giving it a B-. I don't know what it is. I can't fully get into Volbeat's overall vibe and sound, but a lot more of this one worked, and they're a bit more honest with themselves. I don't know. I feel like some of the rock and roll stylings, not just in terms of instrumentation, but in terms of lyrics as well, is severely outdated, in my opinion. And that's often the problem I have with the style as like a whole, you know? Because there are other things you can sing about, but this is still pretty good for the most part. Solid instrumentation work. The band obviously have a lot of charisma and chemistry. and it is produced quite well. Although it does fall into another trap that the band has, which is they really need to trim a lot of the fat from their albums. There is a fair bit of filler in this, as there was in the last album, as there is probably in all of their albums. You know, they like to make them long. This is their longest album. It's their only one to clock over an hour. Still, it finds really good ways to fill the space out, and it's not incompetently put together. It's, you know, it works. It's a good album. It's solid. It's functional. It does what it needs to do. And honestly, you know, much like with Science album, don't really expect any more than you gotta get. And that's it, the last episode of Music of the Week for this year. Not the last video I'll be making though, because there'll be likely a Fight of the Night review if Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier is as good as I'm hoping it'll be in my head. The fact that those two haven't fought before, and they're going to be fighting this weekend. Oh my god, that's going to be amazing. But, that's the... Oh, actually no, that's not the next thing I'm going to see for, because tonight I start my next Let's Play, Rain on Your Parade. Really looking forward to actually getting that started, stretching my arms a little bit. And the next video after Fight of the Night will probably be the last episode of Catch Up Chaos for the year as well, and then I'm probably going to spend the rest of the year actually working on the top 30 lists. I do need to access only a few albums from them, so I can, like, you know, actually make it 30 and not more, but it's going to be difficult to pick. However, I will see you tonight, hopefully I'll see you tonight for Rain on Your Parade. I don't know what to expect from the game, but I'm hoping it'll be fun, and yeah, I'll see you then, basically. Got really nothing else, nothing more to say for this. Always forget to do this. Albums I'd recommend the most, all of them, honestly, but I'd probably recommend, personally, Converge and Chelsea Waltz album the most. There's a lot more to it than you would first think. I don't know why I looked over there at my controller. But yeah, give that one a go the most, but give them all a little try, because they're all pretty damn good. And that's it. That's all I can really think of to say, so yeah, see you tonight. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.